Okay, here we go. Because of the biases with which we are wired, our self-assessments and our assessments of others tend to be highly inaccurate. Psychometric assessments are much more reliable. They are important in helping explore how people think during the hiring process and throughout employment. Though psychometric assessments cannot fully replace speaking with people and looking at their backgrounds and histories, they are far more powerful than traditional interviewing and screening methods. If I had to choose between just the assessments or just traditional job interviews to get at what people are like, I would choose the assessments. Fortunately, we don't have to make that choice. Okay, so hope you all had a great weekend. I am looking forward to getting back into the week, and we're going to start with something that's motivating, something that is going to give us something to implement in order to be able to improve. It's Principles by Ray Dalio. We've already gotten quite far. Hello to Inverse Phase, Nottingham City Card, and Keto. Hello, everybody. So I'm looking forward to doing some reading for you. We are on, let's have a look. We are in a section which is titled Understand the Great Bang Battles and How to Control Them to Get What You Want. Okay, and we are up to a section called 4.4. Find out what you and others are like. So let's get into it and let's have some fun. Okay, here we go. Because of the biases with which we are wired, our self-assessments and our assessments of others tend to be highly inaccurate. Psychometric assessments are much more reliable. They are important in helping explore how people think during the hiring process and throughout employment. Though psychometric assessments cannot fully replace speaking with people and looking at their backgrounds and histories, they are far more powerful than traditional interviewing and screening methods. If I had to choose between just the assessments or just traditional job interviews to get at what people are like, I would choose the assessments. Fortunately, we don't have to make that choice. The four main assessments we use are the Myers-Briggs Type Indicator, the Workplace Personality Inventory, the Team Dimensions Profile, and Stratified Systems Theory. But we are constantly experimenting, for example, with the Big Five, so our mix will certainly change. Whatever the mix, they all convey people's preferences for thinking and action. They also provide us with new attributes and terminologies that clarify and amplify those we had identified on our own. I'll describe a few of them below. These descriptions are based on my own experiences and learnings, which are in many ways different from the official descriptions used by the assessment companies. So it's really interesting. I have positive and negative ideas around these things. And there is one that I used when I was at university. Well, the university used it on me. And it came back with a 16-page report. I think I've mentioned it before. And it was really interesting because it allowed me to be able to really understand myself for the first time. It told me not only how I perceive myself, but also how others perceive me. And that was extremely important because I thought that I came across in a certain way. And I found out that the world views me very differently. And it's going to be the same most probably for you. The way we think that we come across to people, we might think that we're charismatic and charming, and some people might not think that that's the case. Or it might be that we are charismatic or charming, but we underestimate ourselves and say that we are no good, and we will talk ourselves down, even though we are much better than we are. Myers-Briggs, I'm very curious to redo and look into that one a little bit more because I actually read and heard about the history of it. And the history of the Myers-Briggs is not very scientific at all, actually. It is very funny. And yeah, it didn't really say anything. So I am assuming that nowadays they've actually added a bit more science and done some more research. But when it was first discovered, it was just two housewives who made some stuff up and put it together and called it the Myers-Briggs test and sold it for a lot of money and promised that it would do lots of amazing things. It didn't really, but I'm assuming that nowadays it does. But a fascinating history on the Myers-Briggs. At the moment, there is a test called the Colbert Index, and this is one that I have been using and one that I have been using very successfully. and I use it with clients and myself and people that I work with. And I probably need to use it more, but it is a really excellent way of being able to understand yourself. I wish I had the one that I did at university, because that one's really, really top notch. I don't even know if that one still exists. I might have to look into that. But those two tend to be really good. The one that I had at university was called the MDI profile, and the one that I use now is called the Colbert Index. So if you're interested in understanding your own psychology better, and this is what we've been reading about a lot in Ray Dalio's principles, it will help you to understand yourself. It will help you to understand, especially if you're a business owner or an investor, who you are dealing with. And I talk about it all the time, that it is always going to be that you are dealing with people. It doesn't matter what you do. If you're in business, of course, you have clients, you have suppliers, you have shareholders, you have all sorts of different people that you're going to be dealing with. When you're in the stock market, you need to understand the psychology of other humans. You need to understand why markets move up and down, why markets will stop at the $200 mark for a certain amount of time, why it will drop at the 100 or the 200 or the 300 level. It is all psychology. And so the more you understand humans, and the more you understand humans from their perspective, the easier it is to create success in your life. And if you don't understand, then you are going to struggle. So for everything that you have, so for example, I have this is a gift from a seminar that I was at, but for everything that you have, I'll just pull this out quickly. So I got a gift. It's a little USB portable charger, and this thing is a marketing thing. But all electronic devices come with, if I can get it out, there we go. They all have an instruction manual. And everything that is electricity related, everything that's power related has an instruction manual. But the one thing, the most powerful thing that we want to be able to understand, our brain does not come with an instruction manual. So we need to go and read books like this. We need to go out and read books about the brain and memory and how different things work in psychology. The more you understand it, the people that understand it are the ones that achieve amazing success. So yeah, there's two options there for you, MDI profile and Colbert Index. Colbert, I know, definitely exists at the moment because of me having used it recently. MDI profile, I'm curious to see how that is, whether it still exists or not. But the main thing that I want to drive home for you is that if you understand psychology and personalities and all of these different things and how the brain works, then you're going to be more successful at any aspect of investing, because it covers business, real estate, and paper assets, which includes cryptocurrencies and everything else. And you'd understand, for example, very, very exotic investments like art investing, and there are lots and lots of crazy different kinds of investments beyond that as well. So understand personalities. The more you're going to understand this, the greater it will be for you. And I'm sure that most of you here are wanting to get more success in life. So that is one of the greatest things that you can do. Let's continue. Introversion versus extroversion. Introverts focus on the inner world and get their energy from ideas, memories, and experiences, while extroverts are externally focused and get their energy from being with people. Introversion and extroversion are also linked to differences in communication styles. If you have a friend who loves to talk out ideas and even has trouble thinking through something if there isn't someone around to work it through with, he or she is likely an extrovert. Introverts will usually find such conversations painful, preferring to think privately and share only after they've worked things out on their own. I found that this is important to help each communicate in their own way. I found that this is important, the way that they feel most comfortable. For example, introverts often prefer communicating in writing, such as email, rather than speaking in group settings, and tend to be less open with their critical thoughts. On top of this, there's also a new one, which is called ambiverts. And so they are in between introverts and extroverts. I am an ambivert. So there are times where I really like to just be at home and sit with my thoughts. And there are times when I like to go out and network and socialize and I'm really stuck in between the two. I have my moments of introversion and extroversion. What are you? And just quickly, we're going to say hello to a couple of people because we've had some new people join. Young God, I saw you earlier and wanted to say hello. And Jenna Kadlec, let's have a look. Amtrak, thank you for the hearts. Jules McLean, thank you for the hearts. And Mladen has joined as well. And you might also have joined in the Zoom just now. Maybe, oh, hang on a minute. Let's have a look. Yes, there we go. We will let Mladen into the Zoom as well. And Victoria Azarenka says, hello. I wonder whether you are the tennis Victoria Azarenka or a different one, but great to have you regardless of which one you are. And Arzal Razak and Imperfect Girl. I'm not a perfect girl. And Mladen asked if I can let him into the Zoom, which I have been able to do now. And Tarkan has also joined. Let's continue. So that was introvert and extrovert, and we also added the ambivert in there, which I don't know whether this was a thing yet when Ray Dalio wrote this book. Intuiting versus sensing. Some people see big picture forests, for example, forests, and others see details, for example, the trees. In the Myers-Briggs framework, these ways of seeing are best represented by the continuum from intuiting to sensing. You can get an idea of people's preferences by observing what they focus on. For example, when reading, a sensing person who focuses on details can be thrown off by typos, such as there instead of there, so T-H-E-R-E instead of T-H-E-I-R, while intuitive thinkers won't even notice the mistake. That is because the intuitive thinker's attention is focused on the context first and the detail second. Naturally, you'd rather have a sensing person than an intuitor preparing your legal documents, where every I must be properly dotted and every T crossed just so. Part C, thinking versus feeling. Some people make decisions based on logical analysis of objective facts, considering all the known provable factors important to a given situation and using logic to determine the best course of action. This approach is an indicator of a preference for thinking and is how you'd hope your doctor thinks when he makes a diagnosis. Other people who prefer feeling focus on harmony between people. They are better suited to roles that require lots of empathy, interpersonal contact, and relationship building. For example, HR and customer service. Before we had assessments to identify these differences, conversations between T's and F's were really frustrating. Now we laugh as we bump against our differences because we know that what they are and can see them playing out in classic ways. And it allows you then to be able to get around it and have a discussion or look for different ways of communicating with each other so that the frustration is at a lower level. And very quickly, a couple of new people have joined that I want to quickly say hello to. FBI Mitzi, Y Sam, Joe Rogan. Thank you for the hearts as well, Joe. Flaneur 7, Young God, Lisa Kimura. Thank you for the hearts too. Lots of hearts today. Really, really appreciate it. Thank you so much. Amir Ali, Orlando, and Mad Kiwi. Mad Kiwi, nice to see you again. See that you have joined a couple of times, and Joe Rogan agrees and says hello. Nice to meet you as well. The interesting thing about thinking and feeling is that very often we think that, yes, we want the doctor that thinks and we want other people who are more feeling people. But really, you want to be careful with that, because who knows a doctor who is very good at thinking and coming up with diagnoses and different other things, but they are a terrible person with people. And I see this a lot. You'll have a lot of doctors who are just not really socially skilled. And so they're good doctors and they can give diagnoses, but they turn people away and really upset people because their social skills are terrible. My uncle used to have a doctor. Very interesting story, actually. And this doctor used to work in Africa. And so he lived and worked in Africa for many, many years in harsh conditions. He saw terrible suffering. And then he came back to the Netherlands and became a doctor there and continued his career. And everybody that came to see this doctor had the answers to all of their questions. He was a very good doctor. He understood medicine very well. However, he looked at the people in the Western world and said, why on earth are you coming to me for this? This is nothing. You haven't seen real suffering like they have in Africa. So it's very important for doctors and all of us to realize that even if we are introverts or extroverts, even if we are intuitive or sensing, even if we are thinking or feeling, it's good to learn to be a bit of a mix of both, because that allows us to be able to get along with more people. It allows us to be able to do different things. I've spoken a couple of times as well about flexibility and how important it is to be flexible. The person who is most flexible is going to be the person who has the most success. So if you are able to bend with the wind, if you are like the bamboo that can bend, then you are going to survive. Whereas if you are very stiff and rigid like a tall building that wouldn't sway, you would break off. Whereas if you are the right kind of person or the right building that can actually sway, and all tall buildings do actually move about 5 to 6 meters either side, and they will sway in the wind, because if they didn't, they would break. And so for us, it is just as important to make sure that we are flexible and open to being a little bit of everything. We want to be introvert, that's fine. But we want to also be able to be extrovert if we need to, because if we are only ever sitting at home, how are we going to be a good investor? If we are always only going out, how are we going to be a good investor if we never do our numbers? We can outsource some things, but we need to be a bit of a mix of both if possible. And we don't have to be always extrovert. We don't have to say introvert is bad and I need to go and be an extrovert all the time. What we want to do is we want to find a good mix and be able to embrace and be open to some of the things that we may not be right now. And we open up a whole world of new opportunities and new experiences and different things that are going to be beneficial to us. Okay, let's read one more and then we're going to have to start heading off. Planning versus perceiving. Some people like to live in a planned, orderly way, and others prefer flexibility and spontaneity. Planners, or judges in Myers-Briggs terms, like to focus on a plan and stick with it, while perceivers are prone to focus on what's happening around them and adapt to it. Perceivers work from the outside in. They see things happening and work backwards to understand the cause and how to respond. They also see many possibilities that they compare and choose from, often so many that they are confused by them. In contrast, planners work from the inside out, first figuring out what they want to achieve and then how things should unfold. Planners and perceivers have trouble appreciating each other. Perceivers see new things and change direction often. This is discomforting to planners, who weigh precedent much more heavily in their decision-making and assume if it was done in a certain way before, it should be done in the same way again. Similarly, planners can discomfort perceivers by being seemingly rigid and slow to adapt. I love this one because it reminds me of something that I saw a while back, which is a TV show called White Collar. It's about a white-collar criminal, a forger, an art thief. He does lots of really, really crazy things. He's very good at spontaneously being able to get money from people or get the result that he wants by bending the rules and often breaking the law. But that beside the point, what I want to share about this is that he is on a mission to save a girl. A girl's been kidnapped, and the very good planning FBI agent that he works with says, "What should I do to plan for tomorrow?" And he says, "Well, go home to your wife and just have a chat and enjoy a glass of wine and just relax. And remember that you need to plan as much as possible, but that the plans are not going to work out because the person knows that the FBI is going to be there. So be prepared, but be prepared to also have to adapt as the situation goes on." Now, of course, I'm not going to spoil what happens. It is a great show if you want to learn to be a little bit more creative. But the point being that when this exchange happens, they're exchanging a dress for a girl. And when the exchange happens, the rules are changed. So the FBI is prepared in the way that they usually prepare. But as the thing goes on, there is a big move away from what they planned for. And so they have to spontaneously improvise. Now, if you were a planner in that situation, you would not be able to improvise. And so you would probably end up getting the girl killed or losing the money and not getting the girl back. It would end up in a horrible situation. So this is why in life you want to be able to be a little bit of both. If you are only spontaneous, then you would go into the situation with no preparation at all. Also not good. So you want to learn to be able to adapt yourself, to be able to be flexible in every situation. So if you are not a planner, you want to plan a little bit. If you are a perceiver, then you want to plan a little bit. If you are a planner, you want to perceive a little bit. So you want to get a little bit of a mix because one, you want to be able to have extra skills in order to be able to achieve more in that situation. If a planner was in that situation, bad ending. If a perceiver was in that situation, bad ending. So you want to be a little bit of both, but also you want to be able to do it because it allows you to lost the train of thought on that one. Mainly you want to do it because you want to be able to have access to better alternatives, better outcomes. Yep. And then there was another thought, can't think of it anymore, but that's completely fine. In Holland, where I'm from, they always say, if you can't remember, it was probably a lie. Okay, we're going to have to leave it at that. We are going to continue with more of the same. So we've been talking about finding out how you and others are alike, introversion versus extroversion, intuiting versus sensing, thinking versus feeling, planning versus perceiving. And then tomorrow we're going to continue with creators versus refiners versus advancers versus executors versus flexers. So that one should be very interesting. That is going to be 5 in 1. So that should be a lot of fun. Okay, let's have a look. Yes, that will be the page that we're going to continue from. So let's put that one on. And now, if you enjoyed that, you are going to be able to watch the recordings if you only just joined for the first time today. And I can see a couple of new people, Simon Anand, who gave a heart, first time for you, I think. Yum Yums NFL and Joe Rogan, I think it's the first time that you've joined as well. So great to have you all. But if you have joined for the first time, I've been reading the book from the very beginning. If you'd like to watch the rest of the chapters, you can, with my commentary, obviously. It's on YouTube at The Passive Cash Flow Club, and we'd love to have you there and get your comments and your thoughts. And I'd love to get your comments and thoughts from everywhere. And Delta Foz just sent some hearts, so thank you for that as well. So feel free to go to the YouTube channel. Please do subscribe, and I'll tell you why, because I have been also answering your questions. So people have been sending me questions on Instagram, and I've been turning those into videos, answering those questions. And if you asked a question, you'll be notified when your video has been uploaded. If you haven't asked a question, if you're more of an introvert, probably good to be a bit more of an extrovert. But at the same time, even if you're an introvert and you don't want to ask any questions, if you're subscribed, then you'll also be notified when questions have been answered, and you'll be able to see whether it's a question that is relevant to you. And who knows, one of your challenges might be solved by that video with the answer to a question that is relevant to you. So would love for you to join the Passive Cash Flow Club on YouTube and get you subscribed as well. Now, if you'd like to ask a question or reach out about the book, if you have any questions about the book, if you have any questions about the economy or investing, financial freedom, all of those different kinds of things, feel free to reach out on Instagram. You can find me at business_team_6_official, and you'll see what I'm up to. You'll be able to see when we run events, and you'll be able to ask your questions. And I'm very happy to meet you all, because there are so many amazing people I know that are joining us, and I'd love to get you more. I'd love to get to know you more personally. So feel free to reach out on Instagram, and you can also ask us about our events. So we have masterminds and simulation nights, we have game nights, we have networking nights, we have all sorts of different resources for investors to be able to become better investors. And this is my biggest passion, which is why we're reading Ray Dalio Principles, because obviously he's one of the greatest investors in the world. So we want to learn from him and love to see more of you, more successful, like Ray Dalio, like myself, like so many other people that I know. Because when you have that financial freedom, you can do the most amazing things. And there are very spiritual people who think that you need to be poor and spiritual, but you can't really help many people when you are in that situation. It is much easier to help people when you have resources. And yes, there are spiritual people who can do some really amazing things, but we fortunately, unfortunately, live in a society that runs on money and a financial system. And if we can understand that, we have, excuse me, we have greater possibilities of what it is that we can do. With money, we can do things politically. With money, we can do things more directly than just by connecting people outside of that. Nothing wrong with either way. There are different personalities, like your introvert and extrovert, your intuitive and your sensing, but you want to be able to do a little bit of both. So you want to potentially be spiritual, but also have some money so that you can do something a little bit more directly to make this world a better place and also have a great lifestyle for yourself. So feel free to reach out. Go to the Passive Cash Flow Club on YouTube. Send me a message on Instagram. As I said, I would love to get to know you all a little bit better. I am very, very grateful for you all for joining. So reach out on Instagram, start a conversation. I'd love to get to know you and see who has been joining on the Bigo and get to know you all a little bit better. So I'm going to leave you to it. Have an absolutely amazing day. I'm going to stop the recording on the Zoom, and I'm going to quickly say hello to everybody that joined on Bigo, even though I've been doing it more or less throughout the video. Been testing out something new today. Have an absolutely amazing day. Go out and have a think about what your goals are and what you need to do to achieve those goals. I've been doing a lot of work, and I'm probably going to be putting that into the newsletter this week or next week with regards to time management and how important that is. Because if you take and like really grab the day and shake it for what it's worth, you're going to start achieving goals faster than you ever had. So I hope you have an amazing day, achieve some really great things towards your goals, live an amazing life, and remember to make the switch to unlock your reach. Because if you keep doing the same things, you're going to get the same results. So reach out and do some things a little bit differently, and you will start to see that there is a shortcut and a more effective way to doing absolutely everything, especially for investing. Have an amazing day, and I will see you all next time. And I'm going to quickly